Hi, I'm John Kirkgasser. I'm here recording another of my testimonies. This one is called Go Fly a Kite. It's a story of how the Lord led me into kiteboarding and some interesting adventures. Hope you enjoyed the story. So, fall 2 years ago, I'm chatting with a neighbor. He's a very energetic, athletic guy for his late 40s, just turning into 50. Kiteboards, he's got a couple, three kids. Two of them are active kiteboarders, so he's got a whole crew that goes with him. It took me one day. Sir, I'd love to go see what it's all about. And I'm helping him set his kite up, and I'm holding the kite as he launches it. And I got a very distinct message that I needed to do this. I needed to do this kiteboarding thing. And I said, okay, all right. At this point, I'd learned I need to do what he tells me to do. So I said, okay, I'm doing it. But help me, Lord, help me understand. Help me understand how this is helpful for the path, because I'm seeing that I would have to be at the beach a lot, and the wife probably isn't going to want to go there. This will probably create more time away from the wife instead of with the wife. That's probably not going to go well with her and her situation. Help me understand how this is goodness, but I'm happy to pursue it, because you tell me to do good things, and I do them. Okay, um, and I kind of get this sort of sense that it's a journey and it'll be worth it. So I just kind of got that sort of kind of vague notion that it was a journey and that it would be worth it. So okay, I stopped questioning and pursued it. So this kiteboarding activity is not trivial. You're in winds that are 15, 20 knots, and you're flying a kite that's 10, 15 meters in square surface, and that kite will pick you up and fly you places. Folks have flown behind their kite across the road and into condominiums and were seriously injured, or they get wrapped around the wires, and the wires will cut right through your finger and can do amputations if you get your hands wrapped around the wires and the wind catches them. Kites have lots of safety features that you've got to be very good at executing. If they get out of control and wrapped around themselves and hold the wind, they can drag you across the ocean or across rocks or across sand. So this was like, okay, this is not a trivial activity. I need to learn how to do this and be safe. And my pilot friend that got me exposed to it, every conversation with him is about the safety aspects of it. Okay, so when you launch the kite, you got to be ready to pull the safety and release the kite. And when you're out there, you got to be ready to pull the safety and abandon the whole setup, because your life is more important than any of these pieces of equipment. So I got that kind of drilled into me from the beginning. So I knew I needed to have lessons, and I needed to get comfortable with the process before I was ready to go out and do it on my own. So I go to the beach. Jupiter has a really cool chunk of beach. It's called Kite Beach, where a bunch of folks hang out and do their kiting. It kind of separates the kiters from the swimmers. So I head over to the beach and try to see what's going on. Uh, Jupiter has a nice slice of beach. They call it Kite Beach. There's a chunk where the kiters kind of keep concentrated and keep together, and the swimmers kind of stay away, and the kiters kind of stay out of their way. So it's a mutual respect kind of thing. And I go up and chat with this guy, and we're talking about, so how do you get training and this and that. And I say, oh, don't you work at Pratt and Whitney? Yeah, I do. I've been there a bunch of years, and so have I. So we go back and forth and rattle back and forth histories and work locations and projects and whatnot. And it took a couple seconds, but oh, there it is. So yeah, my good buddy who's on an RV adventure across country and uh, all over the place. He's gotten into kiteboarding, and this guy kiteboards with him occasionally. So okay, cool. There's a connection. And then And then we go through a couple more, and boom, there's another guy. So, and that guy was in my wedding. So we go way back to 19, well before 1990. And he used to be the driver in my when we go water skiing. He'd be the primary driver of the boat. And it's like, oh, as soon as he said his name, I just got this feeling in my heart. I got to call him. So I'll go through that. So we just bounce back and forth, and there's another name. And this guy, turns out I was chasing him back and forth to Connecticut, right? I moved north early and then into Connecticut from Canada. This guy moves up to Connecticut with the big move from Florida. And then he goes south, and then I go south, and then he goes back north, and then comes back south again. So we're chasing each other. We finally both have settled in Florida. So that was cool, and I got the same sense. I need to call that guy. So I ended up calling both of them on the way home from the beach that day. And the first one said, "Hey man, what's going on with you?" "Oh man, long time no hear. Yeah, I had open heart surgery a couple weeks ago, and I'm recovering." "What? Open heart surgery? We got to get together." And it's like, yeah, there's some sort of healing connection we need to hook up here. And he's struggling with some serious health issues. And executing this training stuff, I end up hooking up the professional guy up in Stewart to do some training. And so I go to my buddy's house and hook up with him for a bit, and then we go. I go to this training. So I did that six weeks in a row, and so we kind of got back in the groove. I'm helping him work through some bunch of issues in his life. His mother passed. His son's got issues, and then it turns out his one of his other best buds is chasing brain cancer issues, and we went through a whole bunch of stuff. So there's a great testimony there, and I hope I can share more details, and maybe I'll get him to tell part of the story. And if that was way cool, and that was all triggered by this one conversation with this guy on the beach. My other buddy, the same thing. So I call him right after I hang up with the first guy. I call him and say, "Hey, what's going on?" And within a month, I'm at his condo, putting in a floor at at a spec condo he's working, and having great conversations, and open the door for spiritual conversations, and those aren't done yet, but it was amazing, and I'm hoping there's a testimony there I can share at some point. Way cool, all enabled by this one conversation at the beach, because I was hooked in to go learn how to do some kiteboarding. Way cool. So this one guy at the beach connects me up with a thread for training, the local guy in Jupiter and the guy up in Stewart, the professional kiteboarder. And undergoing those training experiences was pretty cool. And as usual, that was a journey, and there were all sorts of interesting things happening as I underwent that journey. So I'll share some of that next. So I hired the local dude, and he took me out, and he's like, "Yeah, you need to be like a Viking and just crash into the waves until you succeed." And I did that with him for 45 minutes or so, and I said, "Okay, this guy, nice guy, well-intentioned guy, but it wasn't like, I'm an engineer, so I need the nuts and bolts and building blocks, rather than to just go smash your way through." So I took some lessons from this other Jeremy up in Stewart. He's very professional. He takes folks out on this party boat to an area which is really good for kiteboarding. It's shallow water and open wind area, so the wind can come across nice and clean, and it's shallow enough that if you have trouble with the kiteboard, you can just stand up and work your way back to the boat. So you're out in the river with 2-foot waves instead of in the ocean with 6 and 8-foot waves. So it was a little less exciting, I will say, when I was splashing around and waves were crashing over me. They were just 2-foot waves. Still got plenty of salt water in my mouth, and about drowned a couple times as I'm trying to do this, but it was good. So he takes folks that are good out there and lets them run, and then just brings them back to the dock when they're done. So not everyone's a beginner like me. He tries to do 1 or 2 beginners at a time, so he can split his time, and folks get good use out of it. So it was good to do that. One of the times we're coming back, one of these better folks, who was flying around and doing all the kind of maneuvers you can do on a kiteboard when you're good. He's discussing as he's riding back is that his arm, his elbow was really sore and stiff, and he felt like he might have injured it, and he was just lamenting that, and I said, I know someone who can heal that, and he looked at me with sort of an odd kind of look, and I said, what do you mean? So, well, lean over this way for a minute, and I just put my hand on it and I said, Heavenly Father, move into this arm, move your love and your truth into this arm, and make this a sign and wonder of the kingdom. Heal this guy's elbow here and now, in Jesus' name, amen. And he looked at me like I had three heads, but then he started holding his arm up, so I can't believe this. It's all warm. It's all warm, and I've got full range of motion. He's moving his arm around like he couldn't move it before, and he's like, and he was amazed, like, I don't believe this, but my arm is actually much better than it was. And I said, well, thank you, Jesus, and I just left it there and moved on to the next conversation. That was pretty cool. Definitely left a mark on that guy. He won't be forgetting that event. I take it back to the scripture where it says, some plant and some water, and God brings the increase. So that was either a planting or a watering, one or the other. But I'm happy to do either, wherever it works, and the Lord will bring the increase. So I trust Him to follow up with that guy and move him some more down the path. That was pretty cool. Another time, I met a character, Air Force pilot. So we had a great chat about my engagement in jet engines and his experience flying them. He was flying our engines and the competitors' engines, and I was asking him about some of his experiences, and that was pretty cool. We talked about extraterrestrials and all sorts of stuff that he'd encountered in flight. We've been able to hook up and do some other activities. Another connection along the path. So now that I've got some training under my belt, and I've got some experiences on the river and some initial activities in the ocean, I can go out with my buddy and practice. I always find it helpful and more comfortable when he's with me, because he's got my back and I can help him, and it's a mutual kind of a teamwork kind of thing. We've had some great experiences, and I'll share one here in particular that was pretty cool. Kiteboarding is highly wind dependent and surf dependent, right? If there's 8 and 10 foot waves and you're just beginner, you're not going to be successful, and it's going to be very frustrating. If there's 2 or 3 foot waves, then you've got a pretty good chance, and you'll be able to navigate through them. If the wind is right? So the wind has to be 15, 18 knots and fairly steady. You can't have huge surges and then nothing. So you're trying to fly this kite and get the kite to be predictable, and you be able to manage it, and then you've got to get yourself onto a board and have the kite pull you up and drag you across the water on this board. So it's a combination of the wind and the waves. The wind has to be headed onto shore, at least at an angle. If the wind is offshore and you have any sort of problem, the wind is pushing you away from the shore, and it makes it harder and harder to get back, and that's not a good thing. My neighbor and I went down to some surfing, and we're looking at the wind. We needed the wind blowing onshore. So the Jupiter Beach is oriented slightly northwest, and the winds were coming straight out of the south. So that would have been blowing offshore for us. If we go just a little further south, like 30 miles south, and the beach starts to curve back in, and the beach in the Boynton area is sort of at a northeast angle, so we had wind that was blowing us onshore. We went down there and got set up, and new beach for me, but beautiful sandy beach, fairly narrow launch area, and a bunch of condos around us, so you had to be careful. You had to go out and come back in and then walk back again before you got deep into the condos. So they didn't want us riffraff showing up on their beach. That was kind of a privacy area. So it was pretty cool. Went out, but the waves were pretty good. There were 6 foot waves. I kited my way out and was doing pretty good, and stopped to turn around, and the kite got out of position and pulled me really hard, and pulled me out of my board. And so now the board's behind me, and I've got these 6 foot swells coming and going, and I see the board behind me, and I start to do my body drag maneuver, they call it, and I turn around and try to aim myself back diagonal, the tack back and forth. You got to tack back and forth and work your way back to the board, and I start tacking this way, and a huge wave rolled over me, and I got all upside down, and I come back up, and now the kite has landed in the ocean, and I get situated, and I work at it, and I finally get the kite relaunched again, and it drags me you know, a ways down the ocean, and now I get the kite flying again, get it dried off. Now the kite's good. All right, now I got to turn around. Let's figure out where this board is. I'm looking around, and I'm rising up on the 6 foot wave, and then I sinks down into the 6 foot trough, and I rise back up, and I'm not seeing the board, and I'm looking back and forth, and I'm trying to body drag back and stay stable in these waves, and I work my way back a little ways, and then work my way back the other way, looking for this board. I'm not seeing it. And finally, I'm clearly, the wind has dragged me way down the beach, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna leave it. So I body dragged myself into the beach. My buddy at this point noticed that I'm struggling to them, so he comes walking down the beach. I get on shore, and he lands the kite, and we start walking back up the beach. And I said I get to give up on it. I couldn't find it, and we couldn't see it. It was far enough out we couldn't see it from shore. And we start walking back, and then all of a sudden, this guy comes riding a board right up onto the beach, you know, right out of the ocean, right up on the board on shore, and he lands right by us, and he says, "Is this yours?" And he jumps off the board and hands it to me, and I said, "Yeah." "Oh, great! I saw it out there, and I thought it must be yours because you're walking up the beach without a board. So here you go." And I was like, "But well, thank you. Oh, no problem, no problem." And he body drags himself out, and he's got a big foil board floating out there, and it's upside down, and you can barely see where it is, but he just zooms his way right out there, jumps on that foil board, and takes off, and goes down the ocean, zigzagging back and forth, and having a grand old time. But that was for me. That clearly that was an angel arrived out of nowhere, and rescued my board and brought it back so that I could continue learning this and experiencing this sport. Because you have $350 boards, you know, how many are you going to lose before you kind of give up and say maybe this isn't worth it? But clearly it was worth it for the Lord for me to continue, and that was a pretty amazing experience. So one aspect of this became very clear. My overall physical condition isn't what it needed to be. As you're learning the sport in the ocean, you go tacking out crosswind, and it pushes you downwind as you're going, and then you stop at the end, you turn around, and you come back the other way. So you're now going the other angle. The wind is at your back, pushing you downwind the whole time, and you're trying to use the board to hold as much angle back against the wind as you can. But by the time you go out and then come back in again, you've lost ground. And when you're first starting, you go out and turn around and you come back in again, you've lost maybe a quarter mile or half a mile on the beach. So now you got the kite up in the air, this 10, 12, 14, 15 meter surface area kite flying in the air, and you've got to walk it back up to where you started, so you can find somebody to land it with you, and you can start over, or if you have enough strength left, you can take another run, go back out, come back in again, and walk your way back to where you started. So they call it the walk of shame. And when I started, I was doing quarter to half mile walks backwards, dragging this kite in the air and trying to keep it flying so that it doesn't get into trouble and drag me down the beach, or crash down and have its lines wrap around somebody's arm or something on the beach. It's a pretty exhausting process, walking backwards with this kite in the air in the heat of the day, and you get pretty tired and out of breath, and legs, your legs worn out. And it became pretty clear that if I was going to do much of this, I needed some endurance, and I needed to get better shape. I hadn't done my water sports activities. I used to water ski twice a week, and back in the day, I was in decent shape doing that, and that tapered off over the years. And at this point I hadn't water skied in 9 years at all, and I stopped playing ice hockey when we moved to Florida. So it had been 9 years since I'd been doing any serious sort of athletic activities. I've done a bunch of landscaping and pretty hard work outdoors, so I wasn't in horrible shape, but I certainly wasn't in condition in any form of the way. So that was a pretty clear message that, okay, maybe part of this agenda is I need to get myself in better condition so that I can do these things, and that'll set me up for a better long-term health situation. So that clearly became one of the agendas. The Lord was working through this. And then we get on the RV adventure, and our first route of RV activities took us to all these different people who had boats on lakes, and I started water skiing again, and I used my kite board and was practicing kiteboarding behind boats to get kind of more board time, because I was only able to go kiteboarding out a little ways and come back in a little bit. I didn't have a lot of board time, right? And flying the kite backwards for a quarter mile or half a mile. I had a lot of kite practice flying that thing, but not a lot of time on the board. So that became part of my No Summers in Florida plan, is getting behind people's boats and getting board time, which was pretty cool. We did some of that, and then they transitioned me into this surfing activity behind boats, and that became a passion. So the kiteboarding led to surfing as well. So it's been a multifaceted connection, and very enjoyable. So kiteboarding, it's a pretty strenuous activity, and there's a bunch of out of shape folks doing it, and a bunch of folks describing the injuries they've incurred, or the pains that they experience. So there's no shortage of, oh man, my back hurts. So I catch this guy bending over and wincing. Are you a believer? So what do you mean? So, you mind if I pray on your back? Oh, sure, go ahead. So we pray on it. The next week I'm back there, and he comes up to me, John, I don't believe how much better my back feels. Well, good on you, and just thank the Lord. The Lord is good. And we went on our way. The next week, one of the folks I'm trying to encourage along this path is with me. We go to the beach, and I'm trying to have a conversation and have her ask the Lord to reveal Himself to her in a way that's unique, so that she knows the Lord is real and there for her, and she can lean on Him and leverage a relationship for the rest of her life. And this guy's walking across in front of me, and I had already felt like I'd stretched myself into that conversation about as far as I could, and it's clear to me as the guy's walking by, I said, oh, I should have just asked him how his back was, and that would have just led another layer to that conversation, credibility. Oh man, missed opportunity. I feel bad about that. So I'm trying to lean in, leverage the opportunities as they present themselves, and clearly I miss them, but I do what I can. So yes, I've had a bunch of adventures in this kiteboarding, and it is a journey. The Lord has led me into this thing. He's led me to a bunch of different connections. Some would see this as a random occurrences. Yeah, okay. Yeah, after 8 or 10 random occurrences that have amazing, heartfelt spiritual consequence. Yeah, there's nothing random about any of this thing, right? It's all the Lord working plans to the best. And as long as you're open to His plans and listening and following and going where He tells you, you'll go to amazing places. And if you're always looking to flow His love into others in every situation, right? That's His agenda, is to have His love flow through you. His love is perfected when it flows through you out to others, and you act in love to others, right? You got to get your selfish, self-centered agenda out of the way, right? All sin is self-centered and selfish agendas. When you've decided your agenda is more important than the Lord's agenda, He says, love Him with all your heart and love others as you love yourself, right? There's no room for selfishness. There's no room for self-centered crap, right? And that's all the agendas of sin. So get that out of your life and focus on Him, flow in His love, and amazing things will happen. Here, things just like I'm describing here, one after another, every day. There's amazing things happening. They're either setting a foundation, they're helping you see, they're helping you learn, they're helping you apply, they're helping you grow, to see better, to learn more, and it's just a spiral. It is truly a spiral of positive things when you get your mind oriented in the right direction. Love the Lord, love your neighbor, and flow His love out to every person you come in contact with, every person, every day. And amazing things happen. Be open to His input, be led where He takes you, and go. You're welcome to ask questions and seek perspective and input, but you need to be going and moving, right? The Lord acts like a rudder. A rudder on a ship tied up to the dock, you can twist the rudder left and right. It doesn't do anything. The Lord is like a rudder. If you're moving with positive intention, He'll steer you. He'll take you right where you need to be, and you got to just kind of go with it and flow. So way cool. Kiteboarding has been a platform, a forum, a format to meet people, see things, do things, learn a lot, and live life and abundantly. Right? Clearly, I'm experiencing life in abundance. It's amazing, wonderful things. My health is better. My outlook on life is better, and outside in good weather is not a bad thing. All right. Hope you enjoyed this story. Look forward to the next one. If you like this content, hit the thumbs up below this video. Add a comment. What did it mean to you? Have you had similar experiences? How have you applied this? Ask me a question. I read all the comments, and I'll answer any questions. Hit the little bell to get notified for future content. Liking, commenting, and subscribing tells YouTube that this is good stuff and it should be shared with others. So I'd appreciate it if you do that. Hope you enjoyed all these stories. Have a great day. See you on the next one.